Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. Another episode going into news and prophecy as we link the things that are happening worldwide to the Holy Scriptures so that the faithful elect, the remnant, all right, can know and understand that the words that are written in the volume of the book via the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yashai, faithful and true, and being rooted up, all right, and strengthened, all right, in the spirit of prophecy, all right, which is through our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. The testimony of Yahweh Shai, all right, is, all right, prophecy. All right, so as we go into these things, it only validates, all right, the truth of the matter, which the truth of the matter is spoken through the Holy Scriptures. All right, it was written and foreordained, all right, spoken, and now we're living in a time where these things are coming to pass right before our face, all right, which is a comfort to the elect. As many are fighting for interest in this world, we know and understand the things that are happening must happen, all right, so that we can get the kingdom of heaven, all right, which is going to be a kingdom rooted in righteousness. All right, the current rulership, all right, ran by the biblical Edomites, all right, is rooted in evil, confusion, wickedness. All right, this is why, as the scriptures say, all right, when the wicked bear rule, the people are mourning. Everywhere you look, you see mourning. All right, you see division. Right, you see confusion, you see destruction, you see disease, all right, and the people who rule this world, all right, which prophetically would be the biblical Edomites ruling at the end, all right, are being called out, all right. They have been identified through prophecy because the scripture said the man of the sin would need to be revealed before the end came. Well, he's being revealed. Everywhere you look, all signs are pointing, all right, to the biblical Edomites, in particular, the small hats, the big nose people, okay, who ultimately have, through pseudoscience, witchcraft, all right, duped the whole world into believing the biggest lie that has ever been told, all right, that they're ultimately a fulfillment of the true biblical Israelites returning to the Holy Land, all right, synonymously. They're not setting up anything based upon righteousness, all right? They're just stealing land, all right, and colonizing as they always have done, all right? And the world is onto them. Their power structure is divided, all right? And ultimately, that's what we're going to get into today, all right, as this beast system headed by Babylon the Great, okay? You also have Nato, all right, and the European Union, all right, are in cahoots, all right. They have differences of opinions, all right. Many of them don't agree, all right, with the direction that Babylon is headed. Many of them don't agree, all right, with particulars surrounding the small hats. And we know, as the scripture said, the least of the flock, all right, in Jeremiah 49:20, therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath proposed against the inhabitants of Teman, okay, saying, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out, okay, the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. Now, when you look at this word least, okay, as you can see, it says the counsel the Heavenly Father has against Edom. And then when you read Jeremiah 50:45, it says, therefore hear ye the counsel of the Yahweh that they have taken against Babylon. So Esau, Edom, and Babylon are synonymous, because just like you had ancient Egypt, who ran it? All right, the ancient Egyptians. Well, just as you have, all right, this modern day Babylon the Great, the nation of people associated with running Babylon the Great are the biblical Edomites. That's why when you see Esau is the end of the world, okay, well, prophetically, what nation is going to fall, all right, in the end of the world leading to the kingdom of heaven? That's Babylon the Great. So Esau is the end of the world. He runs this Babylon the Great. Okay, and as you can see here, the least of the flock are going to draw these nations out for war. Let's read this. Jeremiah 50:45. Therefore, hear ye the counsel of Yahweh that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he hath proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. This is the modern day land of the Chaldeans. Okay, who were the witches and warlocks of the ancient Neo-Babylonian Empire, where we were captive. Okay. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. All right. And pursuant to Ezekiel the 38th chapter, the land of Israel will be decimated. All right. Which will lead to World War III. All right. Where America, all right, will be destroyed, as it says here. And at the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations. You see, and this is proof that this isn't talking about the ancient Neo-Babylonian Empire who was taken down by the Medes and the Persians. This is speaking of a future Babylon where the Israelites will be held captive when you read this letter, okay? So the least of the flock are going to draw these different, nations out to war, and it's going to lead to division, all right, which is going to break up this beast system. Okay, so the least of the flock, when you get that word in the Hebrew, all right, Tazayar, all right, little, insignificant, youngest. And when you look at, the establishment of this beast system, all right, we know that America came out of the British, okay, but when you go further down the line, eventually the state of Israel was established, okay, and they are known as the least of the flock, okay, but ultimately they are at the forefront of all of this friction going on in the planet Earth, okay, and they're divided. Many, regular American Christians are turning an evil eye towards them. They used to support them, but now everywhere you look, people are calling them out. But what we're seeing is major divisions, which is needed, all right, for the breaking up of this beast system. And it's also prophetic, as you can see here, why NATO is divided over future military aid to Ukraine. All right, EU NATO countries entirely split over Iran, Israel, and Houthis. Okay, and when you look at how Israel's operating, all right, there's many just war crimes, all kind of, madness, which will show you what they're really up to, and what we know that they're up to. Colonization, all right, as it says in the book of Micah, the 2nd chapter, the plotting on, fields, all right, displacing people, ethnic cleansing, all right, and doing what they always have been known to do. All right. It's just that we're living in a time where they can no longer hide themselves. All right. And the people are turning on them. Now, let's check this out. Here, all right, report EU ministers discuss sanctions as if Israel ignores, all right, ICJ's Rafah withdrawal. All right. And we know, all right, that the state of Israel has turned to Rafah, all right, another land over in that region, where the Palestinians are, all right, and they're obliterating it, okay. And when you look at, all right, what's really going on behind it, check this out.
So access to facts and information is causing Israel to lose the PR war right now. So what remains of Palestinian women, children, teenagers, they'll be either killed or moved out of Gaza completely to Egypt or to the United States. That's part of the plan. So what's next for Gaza, though? Well, it's empty. It's totally destroyed. How are Israel and the United States going to steal the oil and all of the natural gas off of Gaza and to enrich the likes of BlackRock and Vanguard? Well, look no further than the brand new Gaza 2035 plan, which Netanyahu unveiled this weekend. Great timing, too. He's like, hey, we're about to destroy Rafah, totally eliminate about 1 million people. But here's a 9-page PDF for our plan. This is what we plan to do in Gaza, which is perfect. It's like we want to build our own Dubai in Gaza. Perfect timing. So take a look at this. This is the new Israel 2035 plan for Gaza. Look how beautiful that will look once they rebuild it and kick all of those all those dirty Palestinians out of there.
Let's get the book of Micah, the 2nd chapter. We quoted it, but let's read it, because this is what's going on. All right, and many of these EU and NATO, countries, because America's at the forefront of this all, right? They're split on the way that Israel is moving. So what's happening is you have a lot of EU nations, all right, that are going to side or starting to side with the Palestinians. You see, which ultimately that shows you that they're divided. Micah 2:1, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds, meaning they're in their kingdom, in their rest. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. They have the means to do these things. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. Okay? Therefore, okay, they removing land masses, landmarks, just doing all kind of wickedness, displacing people. Although we know this land doesn't belong to either one, the Palestinian or the JOO. Okay? This is prophecy, okay? Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall you go haughtily, for this time is evil. And as you can see, the passing of laws centered around anti-sin, because basically, if you criticize, all right, what is known as Zionism, or you criticize the state of Israel, all right, then ultimately, you're going to be known as an anti-Sem. They're going to pull that card, okay, which pretty much through this word going out, all right, and through the fact that everybody has a camera, people are able to report, different, true news. They're losing control of the narrative. It says, in that day shall one take up a parable against you and lament with a doleful lamentation and say, we be utterly spoiled. He have changed the portion of my people. How hath he removed it from me? Turn it away. He have divided our fields. Okay. And this is the narrative of Esau, Edom, colonization, which the state of Israel is basically a division of colonization. It's forwarding, the British, beast system colonization, man. That's all that they're doing. All right. And pretty much they're revealing why they're taking this land, because they have a plan for it.
Mm-hmm. And they'll build new rail infrastructure, new port infrastructure. There'll be easy access to all of that oil. And they'll be able to get all of this into the Middle East economy. So a place so devoid of Palestinians, of course, as they describe it. They describe it as a future where Gaza is de-radicalized from Islamism, transformed into a trade hub of prosperity and innovation, and integrated into the Middle East economy. So a place totally devoid of Palestinians, of course. According to the Jerusalem Post, the documents lay out 3 steps to return Gaza to self-governance and economic growth. The first step would see 12 months of humanitarian aid. Guess they're going to start at some point, when Israel would slowly create safe areas in Gaza from north to south. Then,
and when you look at the comments, everybody's onto them. They are responsible for the biggest lie ever told. Rejecting Zionism and condemning these war crimes is not anti-Sem. Okay? How are all these Christians blind to what Israel is doing to innocent people? Okay? And in the process, many men, women, and children are just being obliterated. Okay? Which is leading to many of these EU countries, all right, choosing, okay, to side with the Palestinians, all right? Let's check out, give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second.
Have you ever wondered what World War
We'll go to that one in just a minute. The one I wanted to play. This one.
Turning now to the war in the Middle East.
All right, as the fighting continues in Gaza, several European countries announcing today that they will recognize a Palestinian state.
Fox 9's Sharon Crowley joins us now in studio. And Sharon, this represents a major shift in Europe's relationship with both Israelis and Palestinians.
Yeah, it sure does. Norway, Ireland, and Spain now saying they will formally recognize the Palestinian state. This move drawing praise from the Palestinian Authority and condemnation from Israel.
These are NATO, all right, in EU countries. Okay?
As fighting goes on in Gaza, in Israel's war against Hamas, a major shift on the diplomatic front. Norway, Ireland, and Spain announcing they will recognize a Palestinian state, an historic but mainly symbolic move that could represent a significant change in Europe's relationship with the Palestinians and Israelis. It was immediately welcomed by the Palestinian Authority.
We believe that this is an astounding message of support to the Palestinian people's right to self.
So as you can see, all right, particular countries, all right, and members of NATO, they're not, all right, feeling how those small hats are moving. Okay, they're witnessing, all right, the brutal attacks. They're witnessing men, women, and children. They're seeing the narrative. All right, so ultimately, all right, they're kind of siding with the Palestinians.
Determination.
As expected, the move was widely condemned by Israel, who immediately recalled ambassadors from the three countries, claiming the Europeans are siding with the Hamas militant group.
Any such decision harms Israeli sovereignty and Israeli security, and we will not allow it.
This isn't likely to prompt any new action from the U.S., which has no plans to recognize a Palestinian state.
He has been equally emphatic on the record that that two-state solution should be brought about through direct negotiations through the parties, not through unilateral recognition.
White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan explaining President Biden's position.
President Biden believes that a two-state solution that guarantees Israel's security and also a future of dignity and security for the Palestinian people is the best way to bring about long-term security and stability for everyone in the region, Israelis, Palestinians, and Arabs.
Meanwhile, there are major logistical and security challenges unfolding at the U.S. military pier off the coast of Gaza. More than 500 tons of aid have been delivered there, but most of it.
Yeah, the U.S. is saying that they want a two, state, agreement to where certain land goes to the Palestinians, certain land goes to the small hats, which ultimately this is clear. These are not the chosen people of Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shai. All right, but at the same time, America is aiding Israel, okay, beefing them up with weaponry, military aid. So it's all hypocrisy, man.
Is still sitting in the staging area because officials are having trouble finding safe distribution routes.
This is a combat zone and that it is a complex operation. We've been very clear from the beginning that we're going to take a crawl, walk, run approach.
And we have some other developments today. House Speaker Mike Johnson blasting the International Criminal Court for seeking arrest warrants for top Israeli leaders. And he is now considering sanctions. The ICC chief prosecutor wants to arrest Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his defense minister.
So these small hats are being, a side eye is being turned onto them. Okay? Here's another one. EU ministers discuss sanctions if Israel ignores ICJ's Rafah withdrawal. Now we just showed you, all right, their plan for that landmass. Okay,
A second would be a 5 to 10 year reconstruction process supervised by a coalition of Arab states: Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Bahrain, Jordan, and Morocco. Egypt's going to love that because Egypt has so much money waiting and ready to go to put into this area. So does the United Arab Emirates, and so does Saudi Arabia. The plan is to move Israeli security responsibility to Israel, the Jerusalem Post writes, while the Arab coalition will create a multilateral body called the Gaza Rehabilitation Authority, the GRA.
So they're over there destroying, but they have plans to rebuild, and they're openly telling you their plans, right?
The European Union has discussed for the first time the possibility of imposing sanctions on Israel over its war on Gaza. According to Ireland's Foreign Minister Michael Martin, Martin stated that the imposition of EU sanctions was considered as a potential measure if Israel does not comply with the International Court of Justice's ruling to halt its attack on Rafah. As reported by Irish public broadcaster RTE, Ireland supports the idea of sanctions, Martin suggested. He emphasized that if Israel does not comply, all options, including sanctions, should be considered. This marks the first significant discussion among EU ministers on the topic of sanctions against Israel. Additionally, Martin mentioned that several foreign ministers had raised the possibility of sanctions against Israeli officials who are supporting violent West Bank settlers.
There you go. So now they're talking about putting sanctions on Israel, man. So things are heating up, okay? This is another one, okay? EU Commission chief claims right-wing parties destroy the EU, which ultimately is fulfilled in those small hats. Okay?
Meanwhile, ahead of the fast approaching EU elections, the Commission chief, Ursula von der Leyen, has warned that right-wing parties are threatening to destroy, quote, everything we have built together. And there was the usual bad apple touted as being at the center of the mischief making. Can you guess who? Russia.
We must be clear-eyed. Rassemblement National, AFD, Confederatia, different names, but all the same.
See, we must be clear-eyed, different times, but all the same. They are Putin's puppets and proxies, and they are trampling our values. So you have particular, all right, EU, European countries, that are in league with Russia, don't agree with the way that, these small hats, all right, the West is moving. So there's a big division going on, which is going to lead, all right, to what we need to get the hell up out of here, man.
They are Putin's puppets and proxies, and they are trampling on our values. We will not let them destroy what we have built together.
A German member of the European Parliament, Gunnar Beck, says the EU Commission chief is trying to divert attention from her own failures.
I don't know what she means, but what she's saying is a whole lot of nonsense. Mrs. von der Leyen has built absolutely nothing except her own private fortune through shady deals with companies like Pfizer, McKinsey, and other US multinationals. And she's destroyed a great deal. It's not right-wing parties which are destroying Europe. It's Mrs. von der Leyen and various heads of government in Europe and her European Commission and the EU as a whole who are destroying Europe. So she's trying to divert attention from her own responsibility and finding a culprit. She's creating a climate where either organized groups or disoriented individuals will take the law into their own hands, resulting in assassination attempts we've seen, such as the recent one on the Slovak Prime Minister. She's brought Europe onto a collision course with Russia. She's engaged us in an unnecessary war in Ukraine, and she's now blaming either Russia or the right-wing parties. Mrs. von der Leyen is also presiding over the effective de-Europeanization of Europe by importing dozens of millions of unqualified migrants. Mrs. von der Leyen is destroying Europe. Now,
see that? And when you read these comments, all right, let's see here. Translation: right-wing, proper European blood, if put back in power of their own countries, is going to kick us small hats and traitors out. Okay? Let's see here. Let's see. When you read these comments, everybody's calling out the small hats, man. Pretty much. They killed Gaddafi because he was holding Africans from going into Europe. The JEWs didn't like it. That's the whole story. All right. The fucks us and makes us fight each other. All right. The small hats took Palestine. We get the blame. The small hats blow up buildings in America, and Muslims are the blame. The small hats killed many in Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan. America is to blame. And it goes on and on and on. All right. The real problem is the EU has turned into EJOO. Okay. People are figuring it out. All right. Everything is, going in the interest of, the small hat. All right. The West. And it's causing friction with many of these European countries, all right, which ultimately, as we read, let's go back to the book of Obadiah. Obadiah verse 7, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, and the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, they that and prevailed against thee, they that eat thy bread, that debt, have laid a wound under thee, and there is none understanding in him. So there's a wound being laid, all right, that's going to lead to the small hats, all right, that state of Israel being attacked by Russia and many different nations. America is going to come to aid, all right, which, there's more that's going to happen as well. But eventually World War III is going to come, all right, from this situation. When you get Revelation, the 17th chapter, okay, Revelation 17 and 16, and the 10 horns, which the European Union started out as 10, the 10 common markets. Now it's about 28 countries. All right. But when the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore being America, and shall make her desolate and naked. All right. And shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For the Most High have put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High be fulfilled. So they, ultimately aligned in this confederacy, which has benefited, Babylon the Great, which has just benefited, the small hats. But now, all right, as the scriptures say, the least of the flock is drawing them out, all right, for war, all right. Mark 3 and 24, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. So the Lord is breaking them up. Thus said biblical prophecy, for the purpose of the big blow, all right, which is right around the corner, man. Okay. This is a good video to watch as well.
Little green helmets and
Western powers divided. This is by the elder brother Malcolm. Some for Azos, all right, Nazis against others against, enemies threaten our military leaders. As a matter of fact, let me play that video as well that he's playing here. See if I have it.
Have you ever wondered what World War III might look like? Well, newsflash, it's about to look a whole lot different than what we expect. Forget missiles and tanks. I mean, sure, that'll be there, but the real battlefield is much less flashy. And CNN is going to be pissed that they can't send reporters to the war zone so they can wear those little green helmets and show off explosions.
We want to roll the video right before he was supposed to go on the air.
No, this war has already started in the shadows, over resources, over commodities, and it's hitting much closer to home in a big way right now. We'll get there in a minute, but first, NATO, led by the United States and Britain, are preparing for direct war with Russia, and some NATO members don't want to have anything to do with it. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban this weekend, a NATO member who knows exactly what NATO is up to. A hot war is coming, and he doesn't want his men being killed in a fool's errand. According to the Prime Minister, he says there are alarming similarities right now between what is being said and prepared right before the start of World War I and World War II, and he wants out of it. For a NATO prime minister to say this is a huge deal, guys. Orban says NATO was created with the purpose of defending member states against aggressors, not waging wars outside of its territory.
See that? And this is what's happening. Okay? For the purpose of more control. All right? For the purpose of setting up that NWO. But the Heavenly Father is putting the spirit, in particular members of this alliance, this European Union, even NATO, to say, no, we don't agree with how you're moving. Okay, this is the book of Psalms 58. All right. And 2, yea, in heart ye work wickedness, ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. Okay. The wicked are estranged from the womb. All right. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. All right. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. All right. They are like the deaf adder. All right. That stoppeth, all right, her ear. I mean, there's no stopping these devils from doing wickedness in the earth. Okay. War is in their heart, as the scriptures say. Okay. So the Heavenly Father is using these particular divisions for the purpose of biblical prophecy being fulfilled, as we'll show you.
So what are these worrying developments this weekend? Well, according to the New York Times, it's this. Antony Blinken wants Ukraine to use long-range U.S. weapons to attack deep inside of Russia. Direct war. I wonder where Blinken got that idea. Could it be from Satan herself, Victoria Nuland, this week, who essentially demanded that the U.S. help Ukraine attack Russia?
They need to be able to stop these Russian attacks that are coming from bases inside Russia. So I think there's also a question of whether we, the United States and our allies, ought to give them more help in hitting Russian bases, which heretofore we've not been willing to do.
Oh, we're just getting started, because among the other bombshell nuggets in this report, the Biden administration is now actively discussing putting boots on the ground in Ukraine to train Ukrainian soldiers. Quote, the United States is now considering training Ukrainian troops inside the country rather than sending them to training grounds in Germany. That would require putting American personnel in Ukraine, something that
America personnel in Ukraine, sending, all right, you dumb, stupid, donut hole eating Babylonians, all right, over there to war. And there's going to be a draft. Okay. And all right. And you're going to see the devil is going to show his horns, man. He's already doing it. All right. But he's getting ready to take it there, man. War is in his heart. Okay. And ultimately, we know that these leaders are doing the bidding of the elites. Okay, this is all being done purposely from these different migrants being allowed over here. Okay, they're crashing this economy. All right, but ultimately, it's the plan of the Heavenly Father to weaken this place. All right, and it's causing the side eye to be turned. All right, towards Babylon, towards the small hats. And pretty much a lot of these European countries who've agreed in this alliance are saying this is not what we've signed up for. So again, as we were reading in the book of, was that Revelation, the 17th chapter, okay, in the 17th verse, we'll start at 16, and 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate, all right, and shall eat her flesh and burn it with fire. For the Most High have put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of the Most High be fulfilled. All right, just like here in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, the revival of Rome. Okay. Daniel 2:41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, which represent the NATO and the EU, which is the revival of Rome. All right, when you look at an ancient, all right, Roman Empire map, okay, when you look at the countries, just look at it, the ancient Roman Empire, when you look at where it's fixated, all right, and then let's look at a European Union map. Okay, it's pretty much the same. It's that same thing being reunited. Okay. And then you have NATO, you have Babylon. You know, Canada's a part of NATO. So ultimately the Western Roman Empire has been reborn into the planet Earth. Okay, through this power, this beast system that rules the earth. Okay. Daniel 2:41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom shall be divided. All right, but there shall be in the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay. Okay, iron represents their military might. The miry clay represents the divisions they have economically, morally, okay, and the differences of opinions on how each other, how Babylon's moving. Okay, how Babylon, who ultimately, is aiding, those small hats who is pushing, for war with Russia. All right, many of these European countries are like, well, wait a minute, we depend on Russia for particular. All right, for particulars, what are you doing? Wait, why do we want a war with them? Let's just chill. All right, but again, as the scriptures say, travel not with a bold fella. All right, Babylon the Great and Israel is that bold friend. All right, that'll get you into some shit in the club. So they're divided. See, and we're witnessing that division. So this is big, all right? Palag, like Peleg, to divide. They're divided, okay? Differences of opinions, to be split, okay? So they're part strong because, of course, that's sword, but the sword is divided against itself.
That Mr. Biden has prohibited until now. Yeah, he's breaking a lot of his promises. Long-range weapons, boots on the ground. The New York Times also exposed how Britain is already doing it. No debate. In the suicidal country of Britain, they're already doing it. Quote, Britain, usually in lockstep with Washington on war strategy, has quietly lifted its own restrictions so that its Storm Shadow cruise systems can be used to target Russia more broadly. Yes, deep inside of Russia. Britain has lost its mind. They want war with Russia so badly they can taste it. This week, they invited Ukrainian neo-Nazi Azov battalion members to UK's parliament to give them a standing ovation. Didn't they learn from Canada when they invited a Nazi to take part in a celebration and give him a standing ovation? But no, Britain didn't. In fact, Boris Johnson was even on hand to take some photos with the neo-Nazis. Here he is holding an Azov banner featuring the wolf's angle symbol, which was, of course, once used by the Nazi Waffen SS division in World War II. That's unbelievable. This is a world gone mad right now. This is absolute madness. And Senator Ted Cruz laid right into Blinken this week on dragging us into World War III.
Mr. Secretary, you have presided over the worst foreign policy disaster of modern times. When Joe Biden became president, he inherited peace and prosperity in the world. We now have two simultaneous wars waging, the worst war in Europe since World War II.
There was no peace and prosperity, but it's gotten significantly worse. All right, since Biden got in. And of course, you know, he's doing the bidding of the elites. Okay, that's all he's doing. These are puppets. Okay.
Worst war in the Middle East in 50 years. Both, I believe, were caused by this administration's consistent weakness. And indeed, your foreign policy is precisely backwards from what a rational American foreign policy should be.
But as I said at the beginning, this war is going to play out much differently than anyone is talking about because this war is unwinnable. That's why when Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin was asked what winning in Ukraine looks like, he couldn't answer because he's not allowed to admit the truth.
So what does victory look like for Ukraine? How do you define victory?
We've said from the very beginning that what we want to see is a Ukraine that's a democratic country that has that is independent. And
overnight, we learned that all of those United States weapons that we've been sending to Ukraine now have about a 10% accuracy. This is an unbelievable piece of news that we just got this weekend. I mean, all of those weapons, because of Russian jamming, are totally ineffective. And they're basically falling to the ground. So you, the taxpayers, are footing the bill for tens of billions of dollars of worthless weapons. The truth, of course, is that this is not about Russia. It's about resources. It's about commodities. It's about deglobalization and the move away from a failing U.S. dollar right now. We just got this chart this weekend, which shows the move away from the U.S. dollar is moving faster than ever. Look at these numbers. They don't lie. China dumping U.S. dollars like never before. Countries now settling transactions in Chinese currency instead of U.S. dollars. This, of course, could be why the UK, knowing war is coming, is telling its citizens right now to stock up on food and water right now before the full war starts. Why would they be telling their citizens that? You have to question it, right? As a result of the war, we've seen the largest spike in energy costs in 40 years. Russia's doing okay. Their GDP is actually growing under sanctions, but it's actually crushing us right now. The world has experienced two economic shocks in quick succession.
The sanctions put on Russia by, the Biden administration is destroying the economies in Europe. Look what's happening over here, in America. Okay, but, at the same time, Russia's winning.
The pandemic, and then the war in Ukraine, delivering the biggest commodity price shock since the 1970s. And now global patterns of trade, production, consumption of commodities have shifted in ways that will keep prices high for years to come. We can't rely on Russia. We really can't rely on China. We just flew to China to tell them to stop making so much stuff. The real war right now is being fought over commodities. As I mentioned earlier, this isn't flashy or TV friendly for CNN. No, the startling reality is that experts are calling this the super squeeze, the commodity super squeeze. As globalization crumbles, countries are gearing up for a different kind of conflict. It turns out, sorry, Bill Clinton, the idea of outsourcing everything to China, sending everything to Russia, sending everything to Mexico, and we have no manufacturing capacity, we have no commodities being produced inside the United States, that was a bad idea. So as globalization crumbles, countries are gearing up for a different kind of conflict, one that's fought with commodities instead of conventional weapons. The U.S. wants the land in Ukraine, not for its people. No, they want it for its resources. They're not concerned about Russia. It's all about the minerals that we don't have. Of course, the Clinton administration shut down uranium production, sold it off to Russia. Smart move. The Obama
So the powers that be are systematically, all right, destroying this place. All right. They need World War III. all right, in order to establish what they want established, all right. But as you can see, all of these moves are leading to division, okay, and that's what we need, okay. We need them divided. We need these things to happen, okay. It says, Daniel 2:42, and as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom is partly strong and partly broken. Okay, and whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, making all of these, these covenants and agreements and alliances. All right, some through marriage. All right, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. All right, they shall not cleave one to another. Okay. All right. Debak. All right, to cling. Okay. The root word to stay close, to cleave, to stick with. Okay, to be joined together. Okay, so there's going to be a separation of these NATO and EU countries, and eventually they're all going to come to the conclusion that we need to get, all right, Babylon the Great out of the way. Okay. Okay, so another form of division that we see being formulated, as we know there's going to be civil war, all right, is that Donald Trump has been found guilty, I believe, on 34 counts, which we know is all theater. All right, and pretty much what they're saying is not going to affect him running for president. But imagine him running for president from jail. All right, but let's check this out. Just got the verdict today. And Jake is celebrating as if, Biden, is the answer. All, Jake, just looking at how Jake is operating in these latter days, man, is absolutely sickening.
The Trump hush money trial that just came in. So we'll have to get back to Dan. I apologize on that. But we wanted to bring to you what we're hearing from the courtroom right now. Trump has been found guilty of falsifying business records in the hush money scheme. So a Manhattan jury has found Donald Trump guilty of falsifying business records in connection to the Stormy Daniels hush money scheme. He had 34 counts of falsifying business records. And the jury's verdict is still being read in court right now. So on count 1, guilty. On count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty. Count 5, guilty. There's 34 to go through. But on the first 5 right now, guilty. Of the first, now going through all of them. Count 6, guilty. Count 7, guilty. Count 8, guilty. Count 9, guilty. Count 10, guilty. Count 11, guilty. From 11 invoices, 12 vouchers, sentencing. What does this mean for prison time? This will be up to the judge. And Trump's attorney wants the jury polled on the verdict to find out how they voted and to find out their response. Trump's attorney, Todd Blanche, says, yes, they want them polled. So again, there's no cameras in the courtroom. And the jurors responded yes to finding Trump guilty on all 34 charges right now. 34 charges.
So it's getting ready to be, these Trumpers are going to lose it. Okay? These Trumpers are going to lose it. And look at the comment board. All right? We want Obama and Clinton indicted immediately, which all of these presidents are full of it, man, and wicked. This judge should be arrested. This country is a disgrace. So they're doing everything possible to draw emotions out of people. And I believe that's ultimately the response they want. All right, this is all going to lead towards the civil war that they ultimately are looking for. Problem, reaction, solution, order out of chaos. Okay, because they plan on crashing this thing called America. Okay, but they need the necessary steps to be put in place, and civil war is a big part of it. Taking away paper money, all of these things are all a part of their plan to bring about that NWO.
Unbelievable.
Well, and there's no reason why a trial of a president should not have been televised. That should have been televised so that people could see exactly what was going on in that courtroom.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the Ghislaine Maxwell trial should have been televised. I mean, I think in 2024, why don't we have this now?
Right. Simpson trial was.
Yeah, I was just about to say the O.J. Simpson trial was televised.
Televised,
Yeah.
Like.
They upset. Wow. Look at them.
I think we're waiting to find out now how the jury polled on this and what the response will be. Guys, what's your response? Just thinking about this and what this means for this election. What does it mean for protests? What does it mean for the fabric of the country? I mean, this is an unbelievable moment.
I have questions because I don't understand how he can say that it'll be unanimous with only 4 of 7 jurors.
Well, that's
say guilty.
That's
Does that happen?
What the unanimous was, and what they were saying, because I saw this broke down yesterday. What they meant by the unanimous, it doesn't have to be unanimous. Meant that you don't have to find him guilty on all 34 counts. If you find him guilty on,
go for prison time in this. Get time behind bars. Again, prison time is incredibly rare for people who are convicted in New York State of felony falsification of business records.
I mean, isn't this something like if it weren't a Democratic administration, wouldn't the Attorney General step in on something like this if a judge was outright should recuse himself but isn't and has like ties like that? Like,
he's wanted the jury polled to find out who voted yes, and Trump's attorneys Todd Blanche said yes. We'd like to know which individuals voted for which counts and all of that. Now the sentencing date is set for July 11th. Judge Merchan will set a sentencing hearing for July 11th at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and the jury has now been excused. And he said, "I do want to personally thank you for your service." And Trump turned to watch the jury as each member then confirmed the verdict. So as each of them said, yes, I did vote that, he looked over at each of them as each of the member panel confirmed their verdict. And then President Trump turned back and faced the judge and just stared him down, basically just looked straight at the judge for the rest of it. So sentencing, will he face prison time? That's the question. Again, it's incredibly rare for falsifying business records in the state of New York for anyone to do prison time. So will he make an example of him? It's up to Judge Merchan.
Well, and like you're saying, extremely rare, but this would be like the first time in American history that a president, a former president, is put in jail over these kind of charges. Like, that's insane.
And if you think about the hypocrisy of what we now know through Burisma, through Ukraine, and the money laundering scheme that the Biden administration cooked up inside Ukraine to fire a prosecutor that was looking into his son.
So you can look more into that. All right, let's get the book of, because we know Second Ezra is the 13th chapter. Okay. In the 11th verse, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. The 2 horns like a lamb represent the Democrat and Republic, all right, parties, which have ultimately been used to give you people a false sense of freedom, a false sense of choice. Okay, and they're luring people into these differences of opinions, which is going to lead to civil war. All right. As a matter of fact, and then they're going to speak as a dragon through draconian measures. All right. Order out of chaos is what we see being orchestrated with this situation. This is all BS, man. This is the book of Second Ezra, the 15th chapter. All right, and the 14th verse, it says in the GNT, the world and the people in it are doomed. The war that will bring their destruction is very near. Nations will arm themselves to fight against other nations. We see that. Okay, there will be great political turmoil with one group trying to overpower another and gain control while ignoring the legitimate government. So this could be, all right, down the pipe very soon where the people just lose it. Okay. There will, and that's going to lead to civil war. There will no longer be free access to the cities. See, they need the turmoil. They need the division. They need, all right, the civil unrest so that they can implement a system of control. Come down as a dragon. All right, as the scriptures say, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth. All right, again, let's get that in the very chapter before Revelation 13. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil has come down to you. All right, having great wrath, and he's using distractions, these fake stories, all of this weird stuff, right? Because he know it, but he hath but a short time. Okay. And when the dragon saw that he was cast out into the earth, ultimately this word is, destroying this devil. He persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child, the elect. All right. And that whole anti-sim thing is going to lead to persecution. All right, but ultimately he knows that he has but a short time. So things are being implemented, things are being done so that he can justify, all right, shutting this place down. Okay, but as you can see here, it's going to be great political turmoil. Okay, I mean, anywhere you look, let's just type it in. Oh yeah, you know Fox News is going in.
President Trump with this, saying, quote, "This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace, and we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win, because our country has gone to hell."
See, we will fight to the end. All right, and people are going, hey, it's going to be war. It's going to be civil war behind this. All right, this is just a piece of it, and eventually it's going to get worse and worse and worse, man. All right, right-wingers implode over Trump's 34.
And I want to believe that Americans believe in justice. And I think that in their gut, they realize that there is something that is very wrong here. We have gone over a cliff in America. This verdict is a verdict of someone who was forced to fight a 1,000-pound gorilla with both hands tied behind his back. We have convicted a former president of the United States of America.
So they're just galvanizing the people, getting them all mad. You read the comments. You know, this is going to lead to more back and forth.
America, we've gone over a cliff.
Former President Donald Trump supporters are not having a great day. They're having a rough go at things following the verdict out of Manhattan, finding him guilty of all 34 felony counts, accusing him of falsifying business records to.
And again, in my opinion, it's all theater. You know, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is ultimately in the midst. You know, the spirit has all of this happen. The powers that be, you know, are throwing out their enchantments, and ultimately everything we need, all right, is happening within all of this, no matter what, all right. But the bird flu demic is here. That's coming. Okay, so you have all of these means of division, all of these scare tactics, all of these things that are going to give them the ability, all right, to hijack power and give it to who they want to get the legislation and laws passed to lead towards that charagma as well, man. They already have, all right, a bird flu juice, okay? And they're throwing all of these things in your face while they're doing all of this, man. Okay? More sicknesses. All right, they're destroying food. There was a story where, you know, millions of Fiji waters, all right, were, you know, contaminated, had to be recalled. Okay, and this is another thing happening that's being outed. All right, these juices are being tied to all manner of deaths. Okay. Disease X will take out 20 times as many as the vid did. It's not when, all right, it's when, not if. All right, so, you know, I just wanted to go through a few things. I actually recorded this video once, but it didn't record, so I've been having all kind of issues. So, Lord willing, we'll be back with more. All right, as you can see here, Gil Bates caught telling Inner Circle, all right, global famine will make elites godlike. And that's ultimately what they're pushing towards. We've done videos on that. Okay. Biden admin wants big tech to scan all images on people's phones to comply with AI rules. All right, man. So, Lord willing, we'll be back with more. Hopefully, I'll edify on to the next Shalom.